Amy's pouring her coffee right now, and I said, I'm going to go ahead and go live. And I said, are you ready? And she said, I guess. So here we are. We're live for another exciting edition of Chitchattin with Becca. We have a lot of fun things to talk about today. So we've got some fun, neat stuff. We're going to move this over here a little bit so Amy can get more into the picture. So right before we came in here, first of all, Little has joined us today, and she wanted to make sure she came in here with one of her bills. So she picked up one of her bills and brought it in here, and she had to choose one and specifically bring that one in here. What is that noise? Do you hear a noise? Okay, I'm not crazy. There is a noise. I'm not crazy. So I had said to Amy, I was looking at the Facebook, and I had said to Amy, I said, what had I say? Oh, space could be filled with vampires, but we wouldn't know because telescopes use mirrors. And then Amy said, do you remember?
Mm-mm.
Amy said, do you Amy said, we have always been suspicious.
Oh, right. I forgot. Yes. I was saying we've always been suspicious or scared of science.
We're scared of science.
That we've just kind of always been scared of it, and that a mirror is an example because we seem to still think that, twirling about in front of one, saying certain words, that something might come out of that thing and get us. So
something might come out of the mirror
to this day, and that seems like kind of simple, old school science to me. The mirror. It
does. So, it feels old school and simple. And I will tell you this right now. I will not stand in front of the mirror and say words.
There's words
certain
you're
words
not supposed to
you're
say.
Not supposed to say them.
Twirl about.
And you're not supposed to twirl about. I also will not hide and clap because that's a stupid game. Have y'all seen that movie, Hide and Clap? What is that movie?
It's The Conjuring.
The Conjuring movie where they
hide and clap.
We call it Hide and Clap. That's the movie. It's called Hide and Clap. But it's a scary movie. It's very scary. And they play this game called Hide and Clap where they hide and clap, and then something claps back and they don't know what it is. And I'm not clapping. Are you clapping? No, I'm not clapping. What's that clapping?
Seek, only in order to find the person you clap, and then they have to clap back, and then you try to find them by hearing them. And
it's ridiculous. You might as well be standing in front of a mirror saying words you're not supposed to be saying and clapping.
You're not supposed to say, and drinks you're not supposed to have.
Exactly.
Unless, of course, it's Saturday morning.
So because she's been watching horror movies all day. So welcome to the show. Going to start it today by talking about superstitions. So welcome to the show. We're super happy that you're all here. We've got a lot of fun-filled stuff today. We're going to be talking to Georgia and Jeff about backpacking and having a lot of fun. And I can see Georgia has joined us and she's in the wings. And I can't wait to see her beautiful face because she is fantastic. And it looks like she's got her hair in a bun and I want to talk about it. So we'll talk about that when she gets on. So y'all will be looking for her and her hair in a bun because it looks great.
The green room.
The green room. Sorry, backstage.
Yeah.
She's backstage in the green room.
Yeah.
The mail we received this week, I forgot to bring it in. It's in the other room. Is we got 2 more newspapers. Y'all know how much I love me a small town newspaper. The Whittington sent us 2 more newspapers, and I can't wait to dig right into them. I'm very excited. And then Mr. Jeff Whittington is also in the green room, and I can see that he's there, and I can't wait to bring them both on. It looks like he's wearing something flannel, and I enjoy that a great deal. So that'll be fun when they come on. They'll be ready. They've dressed for the show. So. Pal Ponder on Weather will not be joining us today. He is finishing up his winter forecast, and I am extremely excited to see what he has forecasted us for this winter. Now, it is absolutely delightful outside right now, and we were going to be outside to do this, but the mosquitoes have taken over our back area, and so we are not out there today, but it is delightful outside. If you are in the DFW area, I hope that you have spent some time outside. I spent some time outside this morning running, so I enjoyed that a great deal, and I was a little chilly. But I even had a shirt with sleeves on, which we've already talked about how I like to wear a tank top, but I did have a shirt with sleeves on because I was freezing. So there's that. We are mixing it up a little bit. We're taking out a couple of segments of the show, and we're going to add a couple of new segments of the show. And so one of our new segments of the show is, and y'all all know Dr. Helen, and we love her, is Dr. Helen's Word of the Day.
Dr. Helen presents.
Dr. Helen
Word of the
presents. Day. Well, no, she can't present it because she's not here.
Well, that's just how we're going to call it.
That is, maybe next time we'll just have Dr. Helen present it herself for us. Maybe we should do that. We'll see. Go. We'll see how that works out.
Ideas just to come.
They do. They come right into our heads right here. And, you know, we have to write them down. So we have a book. I have a new book to write my things down in. There it is. So, because, you know, I also have this one that we write things down with my bookmark. So I have two books. I have to have two books because the show has taken over my whole life. So Dr. Helen's Word of the Day is, and I went to the Google to make sure I was pronouncing it right. And when, you know, Google will teach you how to pronounce a word. If y'all didn't know that, you can go to the Google and you can type the word in, and then it'll say the word for you. And then it will, it has a little button you can push that says learn to pronounce. Well, I did that. And it basically was telling me I wasn't pronouncing it correctly because of my Southern drawl. And it kept saying, now try to say it like this instead of like that. So I finally did it. I did get it correct. So I guess I finally got rid of my accent for a second. So her word of the day is called penultimate. It is spelled Penulmate, and it means the next to the last. So she says, for instance, if you are running 5 laps on the track, see, she put this in a running term. If you're running 5 laps on the track, then the lap 4 is the penultimate lap. So I guess if you are hiking 15 miles, the last mile of your hike is the penultimate mile. If I can get that something, if I can get that out. So that's great. I love that word. And so Dr. Helen, maybe we'll have her present those words for us when we do them. So don't forget that we do have the giveaway for Dr. Helen's. She was so generous, and she gave us 2 books to give away by Eudora Welty called The Shoebird. So I'm very excited to give those 2 books away. We will be giving those 2 books away, announcing the winners of the contest and giving those books away on the 14th of November. We have the essays that I have posted, and I will post them again tomorrow. The essay questions that she gave us. So this is just really a lot of fun, y'all. So if you want to do the essay, please send us an essay in, answer the essay questions that, of course, Dr. Helen has given us because she is so fantastic. And we will read the essays, and then the winner of the contest, the winners, there are 2, the winners of the contest will each one get a copy of the book that Dr. Helen has given us. And the essay questions are posted on the page, and I will post them next week after I do, I will post them tomorrow after I do tomorrow's reading of Eudora Welty's story that I'm going to do. So we'll do that, and that's a lot of fun. And you can just send us the essays via the Chitchattin with Becca at gmail.com. I will also post that. Email address will be in there for y'all to do. Next Saturday, we will be taking Saturday off from the show itself because we're doing Sister Fun Day with Dr. Helen. Yay! Sister Fun Day is so much fun. We're going to go and eat a whole bunch of food, and then we're going to visit the bookstore where the unicornos and mermacornos are, and we can talk about that at a much later date. But look out for a surprise video because I'm nuts. And that's okay. And you can say that because people know how crazy I am, and that's fine. Because I see how high energy I am. We will do a surprise. We'll probably do a surprise video. So look out for that. It'll be a lot of fun. After that, our next show is going to be on the 17th, and it is going to be the first show in a series of shows that we're doing called Civic Organizations. Civic Organizations used to be very popular, and it was basically the way you networked up until, I guess, we got networking on the computer, really. People join civic organizations like the Kiwanis, the Rotans, the Masons, all kinds of different civic organizations, the Rotary Club, what the heck is that?
Shiners.
The Shriners, yeah, and they do a lot of stuff.
I think that says Shiners.
I think you did say Shiners. It's like they're giving everybody a black eye.
Elks.
Yeah, the Elks Lodge. There's a couple of other lodges. The Independent Order of the Eagles. I think they have a pool over here. This one is going to be on the Independent Order of the Odd Fellows, and we are going to be on location touring their lodge in Waxahachie. So that'll be a lot of fun. So look out for that. I want to say, if y'all are not following Chunk the Groundhog on the Instagrams, then you just need to stop what you're doing and, well, maybe do it after the show. You need to follow Chunk on the Instagrams, Chunk the Groundhog. I'm just going to let you figure that out from there. So y'all make sure to go and look at that. Got an election coming up. Make sure that you are registered to vote. You need to check your voter registration. You can go to Google and just Google voter registration, and it will ask you for your county and stuff like that. It will take you to that registration site to make sure that your registration is up to date. If you have not checked it, you need to check it because it's one of the most important elections of our time. You can still sign up to be a poll worker and work the polls. You get paid. In most counties, they pay quite a bit, actually. Dallas County pays quite a bit for poll workers. So you can go to workelections.com and enter in your county and state, and it will take you to the website for you to be able to sign up to work your elections. So you can be a part of the process. Please follow us. You can we're on the Instagrams and on the Twitter and on the YouTubes. So follow us channel. It's a lot of fun. We have a good time. We like to post a lot of silly stuff. And if you didn't know, I was making check marks because I finished. So check. So I also want to ask y'all, we are trying to come up with ideas of fun things to talk about and to engage our audience with. We love your mail. We love how you engage with us. So if there's something specific that you want us to talk about, or you think I'd like to see y'all tackle this subject, shoot us a direct message, send us an email. We love to engage, and we'll try to tackle any subjects that y'all would like for us to tackle. Now, another one of our new segments is Amy's movie pick of the week. So I asked her what her movie pick was, and she was like, I don't know what it is yet. And I said, you're just going to do it on the fly? And she said, I'm going to do it on the fly. So here is the on the fly Amy's movie pick of the week. And I'm excited it is, because she has literally been watching horror movies all day long until it was time for my nap. And I was like, can we put on some football? Because I can't really sleep to horror movies because there's a lot of weird noises. So
well, and on that subject line, I really didn't want it to be a movie this time around because we're kind of just starting. So I just kind of wanted to talk about my obsession at the moment, movie-wise.
She's obsessed.
It's a director and writer. His name is Lee Winnell, I think is how you would pronounce his name. But he's probably best known of teaming up with James Wan and doing Saw, and kind of doing that with zero budget whatsoever and sort of, blowing everybody away. But what I started watching was the new Invisible Man, which I think came out in 2019, or it tried to come out this year and then couldn't. So ended up being one of those first things you could stream during our quarantine time, but they wanted like $30 for it. So anyway, now it's free. So I watched it, and I also watched Insidious and some other things that are in that same genre. But he's got a knack for scaring you. And I like it. And he generally is one of the character movies as well. So I watched Insidious 2, The Invisible Man, and Hush, which is more of another director, but it's sort of the theme I'm in here for the beginning of October. Get towards the end, I'm going to have to go all old school, as far as horror goes. But I'm kind of trying to watch some of these 2000s that I haven't seen. I've really enjoyed Insidious. If I had to choose, for one for this particular episode, it's got a lot of good sound stuff in it. James does a really good job of popping those, yeah, kind of noises in that make you jump.
I jumped several times.
And, you have to turn it up to hear people talk. And then suddenly, you're kind of doing this number. But also just sort of approaching that cool genre of things like Poltergeist, stuff coming to get you in the night, and then having to go to a different realm in order to bring children back. So that's where I'm at, the different realms and bringing children back.
Bringing children back.
Yeah, that's how I'm gonna end that. So that's the ending of Amy's movie pick of the week.
So hide and clap, don't play that game, don't stand in front of mirrors and twirl about and say things that you're not supposed to say.
Save the children.
Save the children, because you have to save them. So
from the realms.
Yes. From all of the realms. Yes. So so I look forward to your segments. At the end of the month, Halloween is on a Saturday this year, and we will actually be discussing with Amy all of the Halloween series. So that'll be a lot of fun. So y'all will have to make sure to show up for that. So now let's get right into our show, because Jeff and Georgia are sitting there waiting, and they're waiting for us to get on here. So let's get everybody on. There's Georgia. There's Jeff. Yay! Welcome to the show.
Howdy.
Y'all have dressed for the show. I see Georgia's got her hair up in her bun so she can do her thing. And then Jeff's got his flannel on. So that makes me very happy. How are y'all doing today?
Excellent.
Doing great.
Yeah. How's the weather? Georgia, you're here in town, so you should have beautiful weather like us.
Yeah, it's a little chilly inside the house, though.
Yeah.
Same here. But it's sunny and it's kind of warm out here today. I haven't even checked. I bet it's in the mid 70s right now.
Yeah. It's nice. It's lovely out.
I've got the door open. You can see West Texas is out there.
Oh, it is out there. Hey, West Texas.
Yeah, it's out there.
It is out there. It's out there waiting for you. So what's been going on? So we're here talking today about your experiences on the trail. Georgia, you did a fantastic trail in Spain with your mom. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, in 2013, my mom and I did the full length of the Camino de Santiago from the French Pyrenees border to all the way to the far coast of Spain, the Finisterre, the end of the earth. So a little over 500 miles that we walked.
How long did that take you?
Just over 30 days. It was 32 days total.
Wow, that's it?
Yeah. Goes fast.
That's a lot. You were doing how many miles a day you were doing?
We were doing between 15 to 18 miles per day.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of dependent on the terrain that we were in. A lot of it is sort of flat and paved or, well-maintained trails and that. So it's not overly technical. It's just a lot of miles you put in a day.
Yeah. And then you're going pretty much village to village. So you're not really having to carry everything, but most everything.
Right. You carry your clothes and toiletries and things like that. But you don't need to carry food. Obviously you'll carry water and snacks, but you don't need to carry your meals as if you were backpacking, because you do end up in a place where there's either a store or a bar or a restaurant. You can have your lunch or evening meal or whatever it is.
That sounds fantastic.
That. And every meal in Spain comes with a bottle of wine, so it's really great at the end of the day.
Like, why not? So, and then on what I find really interesting, and I was looking at this when I was reading Jeff's essay earlier today on the pre-show, was Jeff was talking about doing laundry on the trail. Now, how did you do that?
Well, so you can do a couple of different things. You can just rinse out your hiking clothes. Typically, that's probably the most environmentally friendly way to do it. Just kind of rinse out the dirt, the dust and stuff in a little stream or something, and then then wring it out away from the stream and hang it up to dry. So I usually carry I usually carry pants to wear in the evening, especially at altitude, and like a t-shirt to sleep in and stuff. But it's not what I hike in. I usually hike in shorts and a long sleeve t-shirt, wool t-shirt, and those, I want to rinse out or wash. And if they're really dirty, then you actually want to wash them with a little bit of soap. But you have to do that away from the water source. So I would take just like a gallon Ziploc bag, like an extra one. Like if I had one that had some food in it that I had already eaten, like energy bars or something like that, and then use that with a couple of drops of soap, and you just basically agitate it, and then wring it out, and then go get clean water, and then go back away from the stream, like 200 feet from the stream, and rinse it out. Just a couple of drops. Dr. Bronner's does the trick on that, and then you just hang it up. So I would actually rinse out my hiking clothes every day at the end of the day.
That's nice.
Shorts, socks, underwear, and the long sleeve hiking shirt, and maybe if I had a bandana around my neck or one under my hat also. I hike with little gloves to keep the sun off my hands. So I wash it out too. And then once I'm done with that, I jump in the water and just rinse off myself, which is also one of the perks of hiking in the backcountry. Those high, cold mountain streams are rather invigorating.
Yeah, I bet that feels great.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's chilly.
Have you ever used one of those bags? They have them now, and they pack down real small, but it's called a scrubby, and it's a bag that's got knobs on the inside, so it's real small, and then you just kind of throw your stuff in there with a few drops of stuff and some water, and it's supposed to really clean really well.
It sounds fascinating.
Yeah,
I wonder how much it weighs.
Do what?
I wonder how much something like that weighs.
I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
That's always the first question for me when I'm thinking about carrying something on my back for 100 miles. Like, how much does that weigh, and how many different things can I use it for?
How much does your bag usually weigh when you're carrying?
I sent you the last list that I made, and I want to say that all of my stuff in the backpack that didn't include food and water was about 16 pounds.
Wow, that's really light.
Because my tent doesn't have any poles. It just it uses the trekking poles that you're carrying in your hands all day as the two poles, and it has some lightweight stakes, little titanium stakes, and it's made of really lightweight fabric, this Cuban fiber cloth. But so that's lightweight pad, pretty lightweight sleeping bag, lightweight stove and cooking set. And then super lightweight water bottles and water filter, all the really super light stuff, so that you can get your base pack weight down to the absolute minimum. And then you have to carry food.
Right.
What environment you're hiking in, you may have to carry, up to a couple of gallons of water. In the desert, you need a gallon of water every day. So you want to save room and save some of your weight allowance for that.
I would say that the water would probably be your heaviest thing that you've got going on there.
Yeah, water weighs 8 pounds per gallon. So a liter of water or a quart of water is 2 pounds. So if you're going to go on a 2-day trip, a 2 overnight trip in an area where there isn't any water, you got to carry 16 pounds of water. You need 2 gallons of water, and you're not going to be doing any laundry on those 2 days. You'll drink and eat all that water.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Georgia, when you were in Spain, did you carry water or wine?
A floating dog back there.
Brian's got sprocket.
You never know what's going to happen at my house.
That's the best thing ever. Oh my Lord. He is so fantastic. water or wine?
To answer your question, both. Sometimes you needed a little something in the middle of the day to get you through that.
Yeah. Shoot, yeah. And how much did you carry on your? Did y'all have a huge backpack just full of clothes and whatnot? Were you able to stop and do?
I mean, we had a big backpack, but I think you always, well, at least in our experience, we started with more than we needed, and we ended up shedding things along the way. So by the end of the path, towards day 20 or so, we were down. I was down to like a 13-pound pack.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it was one pair of pants, a change of underwear, clean socks, and a shirt, and a sweater, because it was starting to get cold. It really got down to just the absolute bare minimum, and really learn how little you need to be comfortable, when you're not surrounding yourself with, 4 walls.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I had a friend, an old friend, who just finished up doing the Pacific Crest Trail, the PCT, and I asked her what her one must-have was on the trail, and she said an extra T-shirt. So when she did laundry, extra T-shirt she could wear. I was like, "That's it." She's like, "Yeah." I was like, "You go, girl."
I think for me, it was dry socks. It was having clean, dry socks.
Yeah.
Be able to, your feet become very important when they're your sole mode of transportation.
Yes, they do.
Everything you can do to take care of your feet, and it becomes meditation. It's like a nightly meditation to sit down and care for whatever blisters have happened throughout the day, and care for the blisters and everything else. So, having a pair of clean, dry socks was always just this really nice luxury at the end of the day. You kind of clean up and put on those nice warm socks. And
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. I like to have.
Yeah,
I like to have a pair of really thick, warm socks that I don't hike in, just to wear in the tent at night or around camp. In like comfortable camp shoes are important too, like super light, but like very comfortable. Croc-like, not Crocs, but there's this company called Vivo Barefoot that make these little thin barefoot running shoes, but they're basically made out of the same material as Crocs, and they're the lightest shoes for like stream crossings and for wearing around your campsite at night. So I would like to have a pair of warm, thick wool socks for those and to sleep in, because my feet get cold at night, or can get cold at night, even in like a 20-degree down sleeping bag. At altitude, my feet and hands get kind of cold. So gloves and socks are always really important to me.
Yeah. I understand the feet thing. I with running, I'm constantly messing with my feet and making sure that they, losing toenails and whatnot. So
yeah.
And then talking about I'm going to lose this nail. Look, I'm going to lose this toenail. Check this toenail out. And she's always looking at me like, what are you doing? So yes. Feet care is definitely a big thing. Making sure you have the right size shoe, because your feet swell while you're walking. And so a lot of the times you're like, oh, I wear a 6, but a 7 feels so good. I buy an 8, but if you wear an 8, you really need to probably buy an 8.5 to a 9, in your hiking shoes. So you can make sure that when your feet swell up that you're not, shoved up at the front and your toes are all weird.
And that's what I discovered. The beginning of the Camino for me was miserable, because the shoes that I bought, I did buy them big, but they weren't big enough to account for my feet swelling. So we actually had to find a cobbler who stretched my shoes. So, and that helped.
A cobbler. Of course. We found a cobbler. Not
That's where you would find a cobbler.
Yes, because you're in Spain, drinking wine, while hiking.
A shoe stretching cobbler. There's signs
for on every corner. Sadly, there are no cobblers in the non-trail area of the Chihuahuan Desert of Big Bend National Park. And my first really long backpacking trip was in 2005 across Big Bend. So we went from the eastern part of the park at Rio Grande Village, if you're familiar with the area, all the way across to Lajitas on the side in 6 days. And I made the mistake of carrying too much stuff on that first day. My clothes were too heavy, my stuff was too, and we luckily had a resupply planned several places along the trip. So we were able to dump stuff into cars that an outfitter was coming and giving us fresh food and more water and stuff like that.
Nice.
And on you're talking about Georgia shedding things along the way. When we hiked the John Muir Trail, and I did the first half, the northern half in 2014, and the southern half in 2016. And our plan in 2014 was to do the whole thing, but my partner ended up with 3 stress fractures in his left shin, and we had to quit halfway, and then we had to get out of the High Sierra, which is a whole nother adventure, an unplanned exit from the John Muir Trail in the mountains east of Fresno. But every place that you would send stuff, there's a couple of places along the way, and Pacific Crest Trail hikers do the same thing. You send care packages to yourself with the food you need segment. There were always hiker barrels where people would just dump stuff that they didn't need. There would be like hammers and heavy tent pegs and tools and stuff that people thought, oh, I'm going to need this heavy, tool or this heavy item or these extra hiking boots or whatever. And after they hiked for 6 or 7 days in the mountains, they realized, man, I do not need this stuff. This is too heavy.
Yeah.
And they just dumped it. So you could go through and find like whole jars of peanut butter or, 5 rolls of toilet paper or a giant thing of sunscreen, that people realized I don't need to be carrying, a jar of jelly on
a jar of jelly.
Yeah. So you could really,
you strange things when you plan, this is a great idea. And then it's, in practice, it's always different. But yeah, you do strange when you plan, it's in your head, just get really into it. And it's like, yeah, a jar of peanut butter sounds great.
Right.
Yeah. Then you realize they make those little packets of peanut butter.
Yeah.
That you can get at the store. And then so you can have these little packets. And when you squeeze all the peanut butter out and then tear it open and lick it completely clean, it doesn't weigh anything,
Yeah.
And you can just put it in your trash bag. And I've done a number of trips, and I've got each time I look at everything and say, do I need this? Do I need, the very first backpacking trip I took was over New Year's of '97, and it was actually out here at Big Bend National Park. And I took extra socks, and this is for like 2 nights, way up into the mountains. I took extra socks, extra underwear, extra couple of different selections of gloves, heavy cooking pots, like a set of cooking pots. I didn't take a cooking pot. I took a set of steel cooking pots. But the people I was hiking with, they pulled canned goods out of their backpacks and stuff. At least we didn't do that. But every trip I've kind of gone through everything, and my wife Nicole has helped me a lot too, because she's did a lot of research. She's a great researcher, and she's done a lot of research on super lightweight things, and kind of aimed me in directions that, why don't you check this out, or why don't you do, and since the lighter the stuff is, the more expensive it is. It's good to have her buy-in before you click and ship, expensive tent to yourself. So I found that, things need to have, it's really helpful if things have more than one use. Like trekking poles turn into poles, or this windbreaker is also your rain jacket, or, I don't know, I'm sure you ran into the same thing, on your trip, Georgia.
Yeah. Yeah. And you discover, things that you would normally never buy, like a bright blue rain poncho, plastic rain poncho becomes your best friend.
Yeah. And it's like the cheapest one. And so you go to places and they're like, ooh, look at this beautiful rain poncho, and it looks like this, and it's fantastic, and it costs $45.
A little picture of me and my blue rain poncho.
Yeah, and you're like,
Best thing ever.
this one cost $1 at the dollar store, and it's what I've ever had.
and
Yeah.
been very, very pleased with my, skills of the head and then
Right.
the armholes.
Yeah.
And then you can tighten it up, a little if you need to.
Yeah, you can just have a hole, a little tie on the side, and you can tighten it up. I remember the every single time I've ever gone tent camping, except for I think 1 or 2 times, it has poured rain, and it wasn't even in the forecast. And I think it was just my luck. They were just like, "Hey, look, Becca's outside. Let's make it rain."
We should never go camping together, Becca, because we have the same problem.
No,
No.
it would cancel
And
each
it's
other
going to
out.
rain a lot.
You guys should go camping together because it would cancel each other out.
Oh,
yeah,
you know what? That's a good idea. All right,
don't
so let's
have
get
water.
the calendar out and get a camping trip going.
We bought a new tent this year, a huge, like totally not backpacking, monster. Yeah. And it's fantastic. I wonder if we did a trial run with it early in the summer, thinking this is great. Let's go test it out. It'd just be a weekend. And when it poured on us, we discovered very quickly the tent is nice and watertight. It was great, but it's not hoping to test it.
Good to know. We have a big giant tent because we're car campers, but so we have a big giant tent, and it's the Coleman tent, the Insta tent. So all the stuff is it literally takes 1 minute to set
like
up.
175 pounds.
It does. We both have to carry it. We're like, pulling it out.
You don't have to take it down. It'll stay there. It'll stay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man.
Yeah,
you don't even have to. You don't have to do anything. All you do is
all
pop
the
it up.
dog crates fit and the queen size air mattress.
Yeah.
It's like this far off the
Ours
ground.
is the same way. I don't know if you've ever seen the Gazelle tents. They're hub tents, so they just pop out.
Yep.
Nice.
Up and it's fully up in 90 seconds. It's fantastic.
Great.
What about meeting people on the trail? Did you guys, but I would assume you both had some sort of a time when, maybe for you it was at a restaurant, but maybe for you it was just sort of that passing along where you end up kind of hanging out with one another. Any stories in that realm? Realms.
Realm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, we're still in realms.
Yeah.
We actually had our very first night. We end up in this town called Roncesvalles, which is where the trail sort of starts, just on the Spanish side of the Pyrenees. And there's one restaurant there, so all of the pilgrims, because that's what you were, so it's a religious trail, the Camino de Santiago, end up in this one spot for dinner that first night, and you meet all sorts of people. We ended up sitting at a table with this gentleman from Brazil. We could barely understand each other, but we were friends. We sort of trailed each other and we crossed paths all throughout the Camino. We actually ended up in Santiago de Compostela, the end place, on the same day, kind of at the same time. So it was this really nice little, confluence of events.
Bookend, yeah.
But we met all sorts of people, and it's funny. There's certain things, like you meet people and instantaneously that you dislike them.
And now we're stuck in this weird little town together.
Yeah.
Darn it.
Yeah, and now you have to sleep right next to this person or whatever. But we've also made friends that 18 years later we're still in touch with on a regular basis.
That's wonderful.
Some really, really wonderful people out there and create some strong friendships.
That's wonderful.
I hiked the Wonderland Trail around Mount Rainier in Mount Rainier National Park in 2010. And that was, it's about a 10-day hike. Although we met people who were doing it in 6 days. It's 100 miles. It's 28,000, I think, feet of elevation gain total over the 100 miles.
That's a lot.
I would say it's 98 miles, but there's a person who rolled one of those wheels on the trail to measure exactly how far it is. But we'll just say 100 miles. And we, some people just flew past us, and my buddy Sean and I were doing it in 10 days. And the first half of the trip, we kind of hopscotched with this group of older guys who were hiking it. So we kind of got to know them because we were camping in some of the same campgrounds at night and, hanging out and talking to them. And I remember one night we were, this is like our third or fourth night, in the middle of the night, this guy, and his name was Just John. He didn't go, "Hi, I'm John. Just John."
Not John, but just John.
Just John. And I heard him introduce himself to somebody else too. He's like, "Hi, name's John. Just John."
Just John.
So,
Just John.
one night in the middle of the night, Just John starts yelling, "Bear, bear, bear!" And so, Sean and I were in our own tents, which, when you've been hiking all day, you want your own, your own odoriferous environment and snoring. You get a little separation. We both woke up, of course, and I was like, "Should we go down and check?" And he's like, "I'm not going down and check." They were a few campsites down. So the next morning we got the story. John was dreaming, Just John, I'm sorry, was dreaming
You said it wrong.
about a time in the Appalachians, on the Appalachian Trail in Carolinas, when a mother bear charged him. Her cub had crossed the trail right in front of him, and he was like, "Uh-oh," and here she came. So he was having that dream while he was hiking the Wonderland Trail, and he shared all of that he shared the horror with all of us. So yeah,
wow,
people, and they are interesting. And here we are. What, for me, this is 10 years ago. I still remember Just John.
Yeah, how could you not remember Just John?
Yeah, his bad dream. And this guy owned a sporting goods store, I want to say somewhere in Montana, I think. That was his business. Anyhow, there are a lot of characters out there. I'll share one more quick story. In 2016, on the bottom half of the John Muir Trail, my friend Tim and I were hiking, and we just done what's called the Golden Staircase. I think it's about, I should have looked this up. It's like an 800-foot switchback climb up this huge mountainside. And you get to you get up to the top of it, and it's a pretty short distance too. It's I think it's less than a mile. It's very steep. And you get to the top of the Golden Staircase, and you are at Palisade Lakes, and you camp there because there's a big pass the next morning. You like to do your passes in the morning because it's cooler and threat of thunderstorms and stuff at the higher elevations. And the Muir Trail has 6 passes over 11,000 feet, and Forester Pass is 13,000 and change. So, you want to get over those in the morning. So we were going to camp at Palisade Lakes, and just as we got up there and we're coming to the lakes, it starts to sprinkle on us. And so we're kind of like, you're thinking, and you probably went through this, Georgia, hey, it's sprinkling. Should I dig out my pack cover and my rain jacket? There's a sweet spot when you want to get your rain gear on, when it's not going to stop raining, before you're too wet to why bother, before everything gets soaked. But if you put it on, if you take the time to dig it out and put it all on, and it stops raining, then you're sweating, and it's miserable. And so it's like, well, I shouldn't. So you basically trick yourself into not putting on your rain gear soon enough the next time. So anyway, we're sitting there debating, and we're kind of up against this little cliff, and it's sort of sprinkling. And should we put our rain jackets on, or what? And out of the mist comes this guy who looks like he's walking out of the Dharma Bums by Jack Kerouac. It's the Jaffe Ryder character come to life. This guy has long blonde hair, kind of pulled into a ponytail beard. He's wearing all wool. He's got a wool blanket rolled up and tied with a rope around his shoulder. And he's wearing rope sandals and wool socks and like corduroy pants. And he looks like a hippie from like he walked out of the beach. Hey, is there a lake ahead? And I said, no, it's right up here. And he goes, great, I'm going to fish. And he walks right past me, and we let him go. And as he walks by, I see the bottoms of his feet, through the rope sandals, through his socks, his bare feet. So those sandals are just like the top part. The socks are just the top. He's worn through all that, and he's like on a Zen trip. I never saw the guy again. I didn't see him at the lake. I didn't see him the next day. I'd not seen him the day before. He basically passed us, hiking up the Golden Staircase barefooted into a rain shower. And,
Do you ever wonder when something like that happens, if it really happens?
Yes.
Yes.
Especially when I'm hypoglycemic, I really need a beer, and I'm not going to get one for like 6 more days. And it's like, was that real?
I used to go and I've never really done
an apparition.
I've never
Hey,
really
or dimensions crisscrossed a little bit there, you know?
exactly, exactly. I've never long hiking trails for days and days, but I've done where you set up the tent city and you stay there for like 2 weeks, right? And your friends sort of come and go, but you're the master of the tent city. So I've done this many times, and I would spend plenty of evenings alone, which my mom probably doesn't know until now. But in between folks coming and going, so getting off of work and being able to come, and there would always be at least 1 or 2 evenings where I was there by myself. And one of those times, a woman came and she sat. We had some chairs, really nice chairs that I mean, you're there for 2 weeks. You're car camping. Weight doesn't matter, right? So plenty of comfortable places to sit. But then for tables, we had kind of gathered just sort of these big logs, that we could put our drinks on and things of that nature that were scattered about. And this woman comes and she's got her Bible with her. And she sits on one of these, stumps, basically. And I kept going, there's other chairs. You can say, no, this is perfectly fine. So she picked the most uncomfortable place to sit, proceeded to read to me various passages, most of them geared towards the Leviticus kind of chapter. If anyone knows that particular one, there's a lot of rules and things in that area. And she read all of this too. And the whole time I'm sitting there going, are my friends going to show up today? Because no cell phones at this time. So no way of knowing, are they coming today? Is it tomorrow? It could be either one. And then she leaves. She spent about 30 minutes there. She wouldn't drink anything, including grape juice, which I thought, surely, at least grape juice, maybe some matzah. But anyway, off she goes. And the next morning, there was no, they had a place, a camping area. The next morning, there was no trace of her whatsoever. It was gone, as though no one had ever been in that camping area before. And I had that same feeling where I was like, okay, this only happened to me. Did it really happen?
Yeah. I wondered that about the Dharma
it was interesting, for sure.
I had this one, we were camping on the Guadalupe, and very early in the morning, and I like to get it very early anyway, but it was very, very early in the morning and the sun was not up yet. And I heard this really loud scream and I was like, what the hell is that? And so I got out of the tent and got up, and I was already really kind of getting ready anyway. And I got out and I walked over to the river, and there was a woman walking down the river area that we were camped by that you could walk on, with her arms out and her chest and her head up, and she was screaming as loud as she could, walking down. And I
sort of a Shawshank
kind of a just this,
yeah.
As she's screaming. And I hollered at her. I was like, you all right? She didn't even look at me. And I thought, okie dokie. I asked a couple of people and they were like, yeah, I heard something. And I was like, okay, maybe it was just me. And I never saw her again. And it was just one of those parts of the Guadalupe where there's a little bit of a bend in the river, And so you see the bend, and then you see that, and then it bends again, and that's it. And after she hit that other bend, I never saw, and she was screaming the entire way. Yeah. So I could be crazy. Maybe just a little bit.
When you're in the backcountry, strangers can be, a lot of people are nervous about meeting people in the backcountry, because we've watched too many horror movies. And I mean, people, sometimes people do. People have, sadly, gone and stabbed people on backcountry trips and stuff. If somebody's got a mind to do something, bad, but strangers are actually really, because you want to be a good stranger too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's this concept of, and I don't know if they have this on the Camino, but like the trail magic idea, right? Where you need years. I helped a guy down here in Big Bend one year. I was on a short backpacking trip with some friends and taking them up into the Chisos Mountains for their first time. And I helped a guy figure out on the map where his campsite was. I was like, he couldn't reading maps, and he was turning it all different, And I said, oh, it's that. And I said, that's the campsite that we're going to be in a couple of nights. We're there the night after you. thinking, please leave it clean.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. And we get there, and on the bear box, there's someone had spelled out box. Look inside. All these little rocks, like a bunch of rocks for L and O, and I looked at my friends and I said, "Is there a head in there or something?" And so we opened it, and they left us a bag of those tiny Snickers bars.
Ooh.
As a thank you for helping them find their camp. And then on the John Muir Trail again, my buddy and I just carried those small canisters of fuel. We each had one. We each had a stove. If I'm backpacking with somebody else, I like to carry one stove each, because if your stove breaks, you can use your friend's stove. I thought a lot about this. I really like to backpack with 3 people, because if somebody gets hurt, one person can stay with the hurt person and the other person can go for help. Because if you're 2 of you, you have to leave your friend if they're hurt, they're unconscious, if they've fallen, if they've broken their leg. So I like to have three people. I think is good, but take 2 stoves. Well, we had these 2 small fuel canisters, and we were kind of running low. Like, we planned it all out, and we knew exactly how much fuel we're going to burn in the morning to make coffee and oatmeal. We're going to burn in the evening to make our tea and our hot dinner. So how many times can you burn it? And there's a little bit of guesswork. We were running low on fuel, and we were just sitting there, hanging out, having lunch at this pass. It was beautiful. And this guy hikes up, this older guy hikes up, and he's like, "How are you guys doing? Where are you from? Which way how long have you been on the trail? You do all that." It's kind of like the dogs smell each other. Like, right. Like, what kind of gear are you, and he's like, "Hey, you guys need some extra fuel? Because I'm actually leaving. Today's my last day, and I got this whole canister of fuel." And he hands us a whole canister of the exact fuel that we needed, that we were almost out of, right at the moment we needed it. And I looked at Tim and I was like, I want to live like this all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
the neat thing is that you don't even run into people like that. Like, you can run into people like that just out hiking, which is really great. And I always try to be just as nice and as friendly as I can when I'm on the trail, just hiking, because that kind of stuff, you could just be, all of a sudden, man, I'm hungry and I need something to eat, and you didn't realize that you didn't put your snack in your backpack or whatever, and somebody will just all of a sudden appear, and they'll be like, "Hey, here, have a little chocolate bar," and then off they go.
Yep.
And I recently got lost. When we went cabining in Oklahoma, I went out for a run, and I was doing a trail run, and I posted a video of it on Facebook. I didn't realize I was taking a video. I was trying to
pocket.
Yeah, yes. No, it wasn't that one.
Trying to leave breadcrumbs.
I was trying to leave breadcrumbs through pictures to know where I have already been here, because I was walking in circles is what I had done, and I had started to get really upset, and I could feel my heart pounding, and I was sweating really hard, and it was cold outside, and so I was like, I'm lost. I can't find the trail marker, anything. And I didn't realize I was taking a video, and there's a video of me with my camera going, "Well, I didn't see that before. Well, I'm going to remember that that's there. Well, oh crap." And all of a sudden I see this woman going, "Over here," and off she goes. And so I went running off after her, and I never saw her again, but I got back on the trail of where I was supposed to be. So there is a video of me on Facebook going, "Well, I didn't see that before."
Yeah, I made a habit. The photo, if you have your phone, taking a picture of where you're going to be going back is a good idea. I have a practice if I'm on an unfamiliar trail, or if the trail is sort of hard to follow, or if it's like, "Oh, is this the way I want to go?" When I go through that trail intersection, whether I'm hiking or trail running or whatever, and I used to trail run a lot more, I'll turn around and look at it the way I'm going to be looking at it when I come back. Yep. And I might even get a stick and lay it down and put like another stick and make a little arrow for myself for later, because then and then I also lock that in. Oh, this is what it's going to look like when I come back in an hour.
So it's interesting. The Camino de Santiago, the entire trail is waymarked with yellow arrows. So anywhere you go along the trail, you can kind of look on the ground or look on a fence post or something, and there's yellow arrows that are pointing you in the direction that you need to go. So you're always
Nice.
And even then you can get lost. Some cities forego the arrows and they put these really beautiful little, scallop shells in the sidewalks, but things, you get lost of looking at some of these things. I remember my mom and I got lost trying to get out of one of the cities, and we just walked in circles. Luckily we were in a city; it wasn't a big deal, but you definitely get trapped sometimes and trying to figure that out. But I'd never thought of turning around and looking back the way I was going. Oh no, I think we lost Becca and Amy.
Uh-oh. It's you and me now. I guess we're still in the show. Yeah. Well, I wanted to talk about like the importance of seeing things at the human pace. I'm sure 32 days. You said 32 days, right? Is how long it took you to hike the?
Yeah, I think it was 31 that we ended up. It kind of blends together at the end.
But you've slowed down enough that you start to realize, oh, this is the speed that we're meant to see things at as human beings.
Yeah.
And I think there's something really special about that.
And you become so much more aware of everything around you, kind of the way nature moves and breathes. And it's an opportunity I think most people don't have, to kind of stop and just allow the world to happen around them at the pace it's meant to be. It's really hard coming back from that. It's really hard to get back into the fast-paced life after that.
Yeah, totally agree with that. So do you have any hikes planned?
No, nothing that I have planned. I do someday want to go back and do the Camino again. I always have dreamed of doing the Pacific Crest Trail. I grew up in Northern California, and we camp every summer in the Sierras, and the Pacific Crest Trail is just a mile hike up from our camp. So we've done day hikes out on the PCT for years, but that's always been one of those things I've really wanted to do, was to do the full PCT.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I mean, it's 5 months, and the first part really. I mean, the John Muir Trail is on the PCT for part of it.
Yeah.
Part of the John Muir Trail is the PCT, and heading south, the farther down you go, and we only went as far as Mount Whitney, but it gets more and more arid and drier and drier. And I can't imagine those first few days on the PCT when you're northbound from Mexico and you're essentially crossing, that region of Southern California that is really sun-baked, salty down there. It's
a miserable place to be. Yeah. And I know a lot of people skip that section of the PCT, and they started in the foothills, for that exact reason.
Right. So do you think she can get right back into the same?
I don't know. I was wondering that.
Or do you think we're
texted me, so I'm assuming.
Okay. I wonder if we're maybe this is part of the maybe this is part of the thing. Let me text her real quick.
Internet connection.
Oh,
they lost the internet.
They lost internet connection. They'll be right back.
Well, now chit-chatting with Georgia and Jeff. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to figure out how to. I want to do a backcountry trip out here in Big Bend. I actually hiked last weekend up in Guadalupe Mountains National Park, and it was great. Went on a 12-mile hike last Sunday with a friend out here. We saw no one on the hike. There was no one else on the trail when we were on it. I mean, we just didn't pass anybody. But we chose like a little bit less popular trail than what people typically do. I think for a day hike in Guadalupe, and it was great. It was just so great to get out. There were whole hours, I was telling Nicole, that went by that I didn't think about the pandemic or politics. I did think about climate change, which I still maintain is the number one threat to human existence. My top two are issues right now I think that we face are climate change and racism, and we got to fix those two things if we're going to if we're going to continue, if we're going to get off the planet, because you got to be able to, have a home base if you're going to explore the universe. And if we cook ourselves, we're not going to have a home base in the sense. But it was great to get out on the trail, and I've been thinking about trying to plan a backcountry trip in Big Bend while we're living out here in Marfa, and just the logistics and figuring out, is the park open? Is this part of the park open? It's tricky right now with pandemic. It really is.
It is. We've done a few, state park camping trips and things, and it's harder than it used to be. You used to be able to just either show up and, go in and have your day, or you would end up, oh, she's back.
I'm sorry, y'all. I'm working on it.
I think you're on. She went away again.
Can you all still hear me? Can you at least still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Sorry about that. So I'm just not going to be. I'll just be here chatting. Y'all just chat. So what have y'all been talking about?
We've been talking about the amazing experience of seeing the world at the human pace. Like,
oh yeah,
when we hike for 10, in my case, a maximum of like 10, 11 days. In George's case, 31 days. You slow down, but you see the world go by at the pace that we're actually designed and engineered to see it at.
Yeah. Right, for sure. For sure. I agree with that 100%. For sure. Well, that's awesome. I'm glad that y'all had a nice chat while we were gone. Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on with our internet connection, but now I'm just using my phone, so we'll see how that goes. But I do want to talk a little bit about overlanding, because Jeff, you and Nicole built a van, and Georgia, you and Brian are building out a truck. So Jeff, y'all are already well, right now you're not in your van because of the COVID, but y'all got in a van and just took off. Where all have you been?
Last year, 2019, we left Dallas at the very end of July, and we didn't come back until early December. So we spent about 4 months living in our van out west. We traveled about 12,000 miles, but less than 400 of those were on the interstate. So we stayed off the superhighways, and we visited 16 national parks in 11 states, a bunch of state parks, a bunch of national forests, and we camped a bunch of free spots in national forests and on BLM land. And we just had a blast. We loved it so much that we came back to Dallas, and we'd already quit our jobs. So we sold our house. And just as we sold our house, the pandemic hit full swing and hasn't slowed down one bit.
It hasn't.
We need to wear masks and social distance. And our elected leadership, for some reason, hasn't been encouraging people to do that. So here we are. Nicole and I are renting a house in Marfa. Our van is ready to go. It's parked outside, fully outfitted to live in full time. We were going to live in it this whole year, or the second 2/3 of this year after we sold our house in April. So we're hoping to get back on the road and spend more time living in our van and doing day hikes and just camping out in that. Not necessarily seeing the world at the human pace, but definitely slowing way down. Where I think in the 4 months we were on the road, we had five places to be at a specific time, where we needed to meet people, or we had a time to meet up with people or visit people. The whole rest of the time was like, wake up in the morning and go, you want to stay here another night, or should we find someplace else to go? And that's how we made our decision. We drove an entire circle of Nevada because Nicole's like, why don't we have a week or two to kill? Why don't we just see what we can find in Nevada? And we did.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
That top section of Nevada, the loneliest road in America, is gorgeous. It is such a beautiful stretch of road. We drove it last summer. We drove it. Out
As did we. As did we.
California. It's beautiful.
Yeah, we were visiting friends in Reno and just thought, let's drive this. You know, it's marketed as the loneliest road, which is a Nevada tourism or a magazine thing. But it's great. It's a really great. There's little towns. There's a little podcast you can download to listen to along the way and get the history. And we pulled off just east of Eureka and drove about 10 miles down a dirt road to a place called Spence Hot Springs, and ended up soaking in some hot springs with a couple of guys from the Hermanos motorcycle club, which when we looked them up later, you know, we realized that they were one of the top 9 criminal organizations as classified by the Department of Justice. I don't think they were active though, because they were telling us how they've been trying to get out of it for a number of years. And they gave us, while we're sitting in a fantastic hot springs in the middle of the desert, they gave us a recommendation for another hot springs in far Southern California that we visited about a month later. So, they're good guys.
So, hey, you know, not everybody that you meet on the road, even though they may say that they're bad, maybe they're not. Maybe they're really nice.
These guys were not bad. They just had a bad reputation.
Yeah, it's just a bad reputation, man.
Yeah.
I mean, Joan Jett's got a song about that, right?
That's right.
So have either one of y'all thought about, once you get Georgia, once you and Brian get everything outfitted, and Jeff, once you and Nicole get back out there after we flatten this curve a little bit from the COVID, have y'all thought about going doing the entirety of North America, like going into Canada, coming back down into the United States, going down into Mexico, and down into the tip of South America?
I haven't thought about doing all of that. There's some really great books out there. Tim Cahill wrote one about driving the Pan American Highway. I don't know if you've read it. It's one of those stories that, you know, I mean, obviously they were trying to beat a world record, and they were trying to do a very different thing. But I don't know that that's something that we're necessarily interested in. One of our every national park, though, that is one of our bucket list goals.
Right. Hey, did y'all ever see that? I'm sorry, Jeff, I didn't let you answer that question.
Oh yeah, I mean, we were supposed to this year. We were supposed to go. Our trip has been like, you know, it's a mixture of, you know, national parks, national forests, BLM, state parks, visiting friends in cities. You know, our trip last year in 4 months, we either met up with, visited, or accidentally ran into 38 friends all over the West. We ran into people we did not know were there in Santa Fe, San Francisco, and in Terlingua. So it happens, you know, you just like minds, I guess. But our plan this year was we were going to head south and, you know, basically just circle the Gulf and then visit some friends in Florida and then work our way up the East Coast. And right now we would probably our original plan was to try to get back to the Southwest, but we'd probably be in the Michigan area right now, I think, after having already gone to the Northeast and visited friends all on the East Coast and visited Canada. So that's still on our list of places to go. I'd love to drive to, you know, down the Baja Peninsula, and I would love to go to South America in the van, but you have to ship your vehicle around. In Panama, there's an area where there isn't a road, so you have to ship your vehicle. And I've read that, you know, read some accounts of people whose vehicles get rifled through. When they get shipped, so you lose a lot of stuff, or can lose a lot of stuff. We met so many people last year who were from Europe, who'd shipped their vans over from Europe and were in the States, that we were like, what if we shipped our van to Europe and traveled in Europe in our van? So, you know, who knows? Another dream of ours is to volunteer in national parks, and that would be our plan for year 2 or so. Well, year 1's been put on hold, really, so we'll see. You know, we'll see when we can get when there's a vaccine and people take it seriously.
And take it seriously a little bit. Maybe they'll take it seriously. I noticed the other day I was telling Amy, and this is completely off the subject, but it is on the subject of the COVID, that no one seems to be saying flatten the curve anymore. Like that's just not, that's the saying that seems to have just all of a sudden gone away.
It's disappeared.
Yeah. I mean, we were really into talking about how we needed to flatten the curve and how we needed to make sure that we were social distancing and wearing masks. And, I feel like it's probably been a month since I've heard anybody talk about that at all. And that's a little disheartening.
Yeah. Well, I was telling Georgia when you were offline, I went hiking just to bend it back around to hiking. Went hiking last weekend up in the Guadalupe National Park, and there were whole hours. It was so great. There were whole hours that went by. I didn't think of politics or the virus. So
yeah,
get out there and hike, folks. It's a really great way to stop thinking about this. But when you're coming into close contact with people, wear a mask. And social distance. Masks work. And the mask isn't for you. It's a signifier that you care about somebody other than yourself.
Exactly right.
Also, scientifically, it protects other people from you if you may have unwittingly contracted the virus, and maybe you're asymptomatic or you're not symptomatic yet, but you're shedding virus. The mask just means, hey, I'm in this with you. We're together in this. That's all the mask means. It means it scientifically, and it means it socially.
Right.
So, people should wear masks when they're in public. You don't have to wear a mask when you're walking your dog or when you're out for a run, unless you're going to get close to people. Then you should put your mask on. It's so easy.
I wear a neck gaiter when I run at White Rock Lake. On Saturdays, I go to White Rock Lake to run.
Yeah.
And I park over in Norbuck Park, and then I'm there, 5:30, and no one's really there yet. And then I don't actually run. I stopped running at the lake, and I take the White Rock Creek Trail, because nobody goes on that trail that early in the morning because it's too dark. And that trail is really small. It's really thin. So it's only like, I think, 5 to 6 feet wide. It's not like the newer trails that are nice 12-foot wide trails. And anytime somebody is coming up behind me or coming up towards me, I pull my neck gaiter up over my face, just because that's the polite thing to do. And I heaven forbid they've got, the virus, and they inadvertently give it to me while we're just passing each other. But it bothers me a lot when I'm headed back to the parking lot and the lake has gotten busier and people they have no social distancing at all. A lady ran past me this morning and brushed up against me, and I hollered coronavirus at her. I actually said coronavirus like that, and she just went by, but I was just like, come on, man! Like, first of all, I don't like to be touched when I'm running. I don't want people brushing up against me. That really bothers me. Just because you're sweaty and I'm sweaty, and I don't really want your sweat on me unless I have asked for your sweat on me. Please don't put your sweat on me. So I'm a little weird like that. But
I don't think that's weird.
we're in the middle of a pandemic. Don't be running up on me like that, So, and she didn't have a neck gaiter on or any type of face mask or anything like that, and just breathing all over me, and it bothered me a great deal. It bothers me a great deal. But and I try to, by the time I get back to that parking lot, it's pretty full, and so I try to walk away from everyone, but it is interesting to see how nonchalant people have gotten, about the whole thing.
Yeah, it is. It's troubling. It's distressing.
It is troubling. It is troubling. I'm ready for a vaccine, that's for sure. So that's for sure. Well,
the one that the scientists say is effective. That's what we need.
Right.
See what the scientists say.
Yeah, listen to the scientists for sure.
Yeah. Listen to science, folks. It's telling the truth. Yeah. So, but also don't twirl about in front of mirrors. So. Do either one of y'all have y'all ever carried your one of your pets along on a hike, on a backpacking trip?
I haven't, just on day trips, day
Yeah.
hikes.
No,
I know people who have, and I've run across people who hike with their dogs, and I can't wrap my head around the logistics of it.
Right.
yeah,
I mean,
I'm trying to remember what kind of dog this was. I saw it. So, the John Muir Trail goes through, it's like the John Muir Wilderness or National Forest. There's some sections that are in the national parks, but I think because it's a trail that goes through there, you can take pets on some of that. And I saw a guy hiking with, I'm trying to remember what kind of dog. It was a little dog, and he had it in a little strappy thing that it rode on in a little harness in front of him as he hiked, and it like bobbed along like this as he was, trekking poles. And I thought and we saw that guy at a campsite when he didn't have the dog in the thing, and the dog was like, "Arr." And I'm like, come on, man, you're a tiny little, and that thing is like, that's like a bear snack, out there. So
Yeah. I've seen, the stories of people who, hike with their cats. I think there's one woman out there who has a whole Instagram post or, whole story in her Instagram feed about how she's, hiked the PCT with her pet cat. But just,
well, it's
why
a big
invite
world.
wilderness in with any more than you already do, I guess.
Right. And the other thing about taking a pet is that you got to carry pet food. If the pet, hey, thank you.
yeah. I know. Sorry. Look
There
at
you
that.
go.
She's back.
I am. And I was trying to turn my phone off because my phone is all of a sudden doing some weird thing. So yes, the people with the dogs in the front, like they're carrying a little baby.
Yeah.
Like, what are you thinking?
Crazy talk.
Yeah.
Well, and I've seen people who have and I've thought about this before, like Little is a great trail dog. She loves to hike. Now she's 12 now, so she doesn't really want to do as much as she used to, but she used to go forever. Like she would be like, we've gone 6 miles. Well, let's go 6 more.
Yeah.
And you think about, well, baby, you've got to have food, and I've got to make sure that she's got water. She can't just drink out of the lake, because they can get, bacteria in their gut as well.
Toxic algae is the biggest risk for your pets.
Yeah. So you have to think about all that stuff, and you can't just,
Yeah, and you think about it, if you need a gallon of water a day, what does your pet need?
Exactly.
Water for your pet and food. And I know there's dog, people who have packs for their dogs and all of that, but
Yep.
I think that's fair, carry your own weight. But
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to work your dog really carefully up to carrying the dog food weight, but you can train your dog up for that. I just remembered I think it's in the Wind River Range. There's a goat packing company, and you can rent a goat to backpack with you, and the goat carries all your stuff. The goat just eats grass. You don't even have to carry your pack, and the goat carries your backpack for you, basically all your stuff. And I remember reading an article. I'm sure you could Google it, goat packing. But it's
oh my God, that makes me so happy.
It's interesting you say that, and it reminds me as we towards the end of the Camino, there's this one hostel that we stayed at that offered the service of basically they drove your pack up to the next hostel.
Yeah.
And there's a few other places along the trail that did that, and we never took advantage of it. And this day we did because we knew there was going to be some big inclines. It was the first of the real big inclines towards the end of the trail. So we decided to take advantage. We're like, oh, sure, why not? And we definitely, that was our longest mile day. But what we noticed by the time we were to that next hostel was that the way that you carry your pack, it changes your posture in a way that you don't get as tired. And I know that sounds weird because you're carrying weight. But when you're not carrying that weight, like both my mom and I discovered, like our backs hurt and our hips hurt, and we hadn't felt that the entire way up until that one day where we didn't carry our packs. It was like, huh, that's interesting. So it was one of those things. We both decided we wouldn't do it again.
Yeah, it's like your body gets used to it and it wants to do it.
Yeah. It's true. I've always found that the first day or two of a backpacking trip, also you've got more food. As you eat food, your pack gets lighter. So you eat the heavier stuff first. But it's kind of miserable
Like
the first couple of
peanut
days.
butter.
Yeah, it's kind of miserable the first couple of days, and then you get kind of used to it, and it feels good to put your hat on in the morning. This is what we're doing. Which is one of my favorite. My friend Sean coined that term when we were, hiking 100 miles around Mount Rainier. He's like, "No, this is what we're doing." And so I say that on every hike or every backpacking trip now, because it helps to remind yourself that, hey, you chose to be here, and it might suck a little bit, but the payoff is totally worth it. It really is.
Yep. It's really worth it. It's really worth it. And as an old lady, I have thought a lot about, I used to think about it a lot, but the older I get, I seem to think about it more. And it's like doing these long distance trails, even though I've never, I mean, like I told y'all yesterday, the furthest I've hiked into a campsite is a mile with a 12 pack of beer. I mean, it's carrying my giant tent with me, but I think about it a lot just to see everything a little bit differently, for sure. Just to see country you don't see.
And I think something that's really important to say, and because most people think is like, oh, backpacking, you have to be super fit and super ready. Anything that you do outside, you do it at your own pace.
Exactly.
Maybe your pace is only 4 miles a day, maybe 8 miles a day, but you go at your own pace. It's not about going out and trying to beat the ultra marathoner who's trying to get in 30 miles. It's about going at your speed and listening to what your body can do and knowing what you're capable of. Anyone can run the Pacific Crest Trail. Is it going to take you some people longer? Most definitely. And that's totally okay. But I think people get hung up on these time limits around things.
Our society is built. Our society is built. You only have 2 weeks of vacation, so you have to cram. You have to cram your trip into this, and that's where you can go wrong.
Right.
At your pace, and I think with any kind of long distance backpacking, you build your skill as you build your experience, and just for anybody who sees this who thinks, well, I'd like to try it, but I just don't know if I can do a 4 or 5 day. Well, Lost Maple State Park is a good place. There's a backcountry campground there that is just like a mile and a half, maybe 2, maybe 3 miles in, that you can go and try out backpacking there. Borrow gear from a friend. Don't buy a bunch of stuff. See if you like it. Enchanted Rock State Park, also not too far from Dallas, also down in the hill country, is another place where there are some, backcountry, some kind of walk-in campsites, kind of around behind the.
Lake Wells has a couple too.
Yep.
Not very far.
Dinosaur Valley. Dinosaur Valley was where I went the first time, and they've got a lot. I mean, you can go, a mile in, several miles in, to campsites way back up in Dinosaur Valley, and it's just absolutely glorious.
Yeah, try it out, see how it feels. You get away from
and the first time I went, we went to Dinosaur Valley State Park, and we walked in, a mile to the campsite, and I actually borrowed gear from a friend. Like I didn't have a tent or anything like that. It's the first time I slept in her ultralight tent, that was just a one person little, and I got in there and was all cozy in my little sleeping bag and, having a great trip, and it was fantastic.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And it rained.
Yeah. Well, you should have taken Georgia, because then that would have.
Yeah, it wouldn't have rained then.
It would have canceled it out.
We always have to camp together now. I think Jeff might be right.
I think he is right, and I 100% agree. It seems like we're having some issues with the StreamYard today, and I'm not seeing any of our questions pop in. So let me pop in here to the comments really quick. because my phone is working again. Everything is now working again. And we'll see if we've got any questions here
Sure.
from folks to see what we're talking about. So people are talking about definite trail angels. Nicole wants to know, for Georgia, after hiking the Camina and realizing how little you need, do you find you pack differently for your regular travel too?
Yes, most definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I say that my travel, like work travel, or even going out to see my family in California, I definitely pack much less than I used to. When we go camping, if it fits in the truck, it comes with us.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Because you never know if you're going to need, who knows what it is. But yeah, when we car camp, if we have the space, we'll bring, we have all sorts of, goodies and things that we buy. But definitely when I'm, traveling or things like that, I definitely pare it way, way down. I also, of course, now, after years of, living and owning a home, you accumulate a lot of stuff. But for a lot of years, I just didn't own a lot. And a lot of that came right after those years of doing the Camino. You look at things and you go, do I need that? And you go, no, I don't. Is it something I can take a picture of instead of buying, and get just
Right.
of it?
Yeah, for sure. And I find that I look at my house a lot like that too. Like we just cleaned out stuff and got rid of a whole bunch of stuff, and we're just like, do we need this? No, we don't need this. We don't need this. We don't need this. So you find that you do that in your home life as well. So, but I will say that on our last trip that Amy and I took when we went to that really neat cabin in Oklahoma, I took 7 flashlights.
Just in case.
I needed every one. Yep, I did. And I will tell you that, yes, we had to climb 3 flights of stairs to get into the cabin because the cabin looked like a.
The cabin had electricity, right?
It did. Oh, it was luxurious. It was a luxurious cabin, but I needed 7 flashlights. I needed them. And would you like to know how many times I used those flashlights?
I'm guessing 0.
Not once.
Yeah.
0. But I had them just in case I needed them.
You never know.
Would I take 7 flashlights on a backcountry backpacking trip? No, I would not.
No.
All I would need is a headlamp. Yep, gotta have a headlamp and I'm good.
And Black Diamond makes the lightest one on the market.
Yep. Yeah. My headlamp that I wear every day when I'm running, and when I take Little out for her morning walks, is a rechargeable headlamp that I got for $5 on Amazon. And I've run in the rain and in the snow and in the sleet and all of that stuff with this $5 rechargeable headlamp.
Nice.
That I got on the Amazon. So that was probably one of my favorite buys. And I just plug it in every day. And I think a lot of people have been backpacking. I've seen a lot of people with the solar on the back of their backpacks. They've got those solar panels where they're soaking up, some free energy from the sun to be able to charge their devices at the end of the day. Do you carry any devices with you when you go now?
My last long backpacking trip was 2016. So
yeah.
And I think I still had like a iPhone 5 or 4 or something at that point, and I was carrying a little like a little Sony camera to take pictures with. So I wasn't using my phone for navigation or maps or. I met some people who were navigating with their phone and recharging with the solar panels. So I looked into the little solar panels, and at the time, I think this is after I finished the hike. At the time, I think they were weighing in around a pound or so. So I haven't done any more research on that. So I haven't done that yet. But I think a lot of them, I probably
at
would.
best, they are as a trickle charge. They don't give you a big battery unless you carry a battery pack. It's just a trickle charge that you get off of it.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think next trip I might look into that for recharging, for taking photos with the phone and stuff. But
I think it's going to have to be one of those things where you're like, do I really do I need it? And we don't really go anywhere without these now. I mean, you can use them for everything. So, I've seen more and more people really wanting those. But is the wait worth it?
Right. Well, and when you're through hiking and you don't have someone to pick you up that drops you off at the beginning, you need to typically, like my last trip, the bottom half of the John Muir Trail, we flew to San Jose, and then we took Amtrak to Fresno, and then we got a shuttle from Fresno up into the mountains. So anything we didn't want to carry all the way to Lone Pine, California, and Mount Whitney, where we took a bus to Reno, we had to mail to ourselves in Lone Pine. So our bag, our stuff that we did, our street clothes, stuff we didn't need to carry in our pack, had to be mailed. But I carried my phone because I figured, well, when I get done, I don't want to ship my phone to myself in Lone Pine. What if it gets lost? So you carry your phone. You need your phone now to get on planes, to do all this other stuff. So you're going to carry your phone. So if you're going to take pictures with your phone, some sort of charging device makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I will say that I did see somebody the other day, some younger folks that looked like they were in their very early 20s, maybe not able to drink yet. They had a disposable camera because retro.
Yeah, that's what I used to carry on backpacking trips, with the lightweight little disposable cameras.
Yes.
Yeah.
I said, look at that. You have a disposable camera. And she said, yes, it's retro. And I went, oh.
Very nice.
And like that.
Well, congratulations on your retroness, child. Bless your heart. Yeah, I felt a little old. So
I just want to say, if anybody watches this later or has questions or wants advice, I'm happy to answer any questions about backpacking, planning, trip planning, gear, advice, gear lists. I have a gear list for every single trip I've ever taken that I've saved, and I'm happy to do that. And people can find me on Facebook, Jeff Whittington, or on Instagram. I'm Whittington_Jeff. Our van is The Good Luck Van on Instagram, or you can also find me on Twitter. I'm Jeff Whittington on Twitter. Happy to.
And y'all follow the Good Luck Van. It's following their adventure in that van is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to follow that adventure, especially when Nicole is heating up spaghetti on the dashboard by using the sun, and that makes me so happy.
Hey, leftovers.
Hey man, you got to heat that spaghetti up the way you can heat it up, and that made me so happy to see that. And I was like, girl, that's why she and I are like that,
It's funny
because I
Nicole,
would have done the same. Go to the dashboard. It'd be fine.
He's laughing. He laughed just a few seconds after everything was
So, and then y'all follow Georgia too. Georgia's got a lot of fun stuff. Her mom made you a book from your trip, didn't she?
She did, yeah. This was my Christmas present a few years later, but I have a whole hardback book that she made for us with her, all the photographs that she took and blog posts that she was writing and everything. So that's been,
cool.
I looked at it in a lot of years. So it was a lot of fun for you to. It gave me a reason to pull it out and look at it again. There's a whole bunch of things that I remember.
Absolutely.
All my little things, my little seashell from the you have your it's the symbol of the Camino, the scallop shell. Then I brought this out too. It's your pilgrim's passport, and they do stamps for every.
Wow.
Every place that you stop and stay, they do stamps.
Very cool.
March your way across the trails. I actually have 2 of those because we filled up the first one, so the second one's almost full too.
How cool is that?
Yeah, and then in the Camino, when you finish, you go to the office at the cathedral in Santiago de Compostela, and you actually get a certificate of completion when you show them your completed passport, showing them where you started. So they fill that out. It's all in Latin. I can't read a thing of it, but it's your official church document that you completed the pilgrimage of St. James.
How cool is that? All right, Georgia, we need to make a trip. We need to make a trip once the COVID is over and they allow us back into other countries, because they don't right now.
We might be a long ways off from that.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll keep our fingers crossed. Well, y'all definitely go follow Georgia and follow Jeff on the Instagrams and the Facebooks, and make sure to follow the Good Luck Band. It's a lot of fun. And I want to thank y'all so much for taking the time out of your Saturday to hang out with us and chat with us about backpacking. Sorry about, losing the internet, but is what it is. That's what a live show is about.
It was fun.
So yeah, it was a lot of fun. So I appreciate
you organizing this.
Yeah, it was great. And then maybe we could do a follow-up later once, we get open back up and y'all are out on the road, and maybe we go on a camping trip together and, stuff like that. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, y'all. I appreciate y'all.
Thanks.
Appreciate you.
Bye.
Bye.
So that was great. I mean, I can't even tell you how much information both of them have. So, for resources, definitely make sure that you reach out to them and then follow the Good Luck Band on the Instagrams, because they're a lot of fun. Again, don't forget to go and vote. Or early voting starts. When is it? Next week? I think early voting starts next week. If it's not, it's the week after that. I think what's today? Today's the 3rd. Today's the 3rd. I think it starts next week. Make sure to go and early vote. You can still sign up to work the election if you want. You do get paid, so you can go and be a poll worker. So do that. And then next week is Sister Fun Day, so we won't be here, but we might do a little special live video, because we will be doing Sister Fun Day, and we'll be with Dr. Helen, and she's a lot of fun. So then don't forget to join us on the 17th. We're going to be doing our first on-location episode for our civic organization series that we're doing on civic organizations. And it's going to be on the Independent Order of the Oddfellows, and we'll be at their lodge with Jim Evans, checking out the Oddfellows and seeing what they're all about. So join us for that, and we'll have a lot of fun, and we'll see you next time. So thanks so much for joining us, y'all.